All right, here we go. It is, what is it? It's August 24th. Wow, that's pretty crazy. Our summer's almost gone and it didn't even get here yet. I, I think every year I mention this. The older I get, the faster it goes. Not sure that I like that. But it is what it is, and we have to just embrace what we can't change. So one of the things, speaking of embracing things you can't change and changing things you can, I've been thinking about this for a while now. Actually, since last November when ChatGPT came out. And I think we can fundamentally change the way we attack the ACT program to make it faster, easier, and just less painful overall. How would you guys like that? Faster, easier, and less painful. So the thing about the whole ACT program is it's following a protocol that's been around for well over 100 years, and it works. And like I've always said, it's a simple thing. It's very easy, but it's incredibly hard to implement. And it starts, as you guys all know, it starts with analysis. And I've put a bunch of different tools and trainings into that section on how to do analysis. And I think that has really complicated things for a lot of people, like getting in and trying to understand these tools and do this research and all this stuff. When in essence, really all you don't really need to do all of that. How many of you just took a big deep breath? Oh my God, thank you. You don't really need to do that if you know enough about your market. And if you don't know enough about your market, that's all that's for, is just for you to learn who the market is and what they want. That's really all it is. It's nothing beyond that. It's not meant to be just a torturous process that you have to go through, like, to bridge you to the next realm. It's just really a simple thing. If you understand who you're talking to and what they want, why they want it, it makes the whole rest of the process a no-brainer because you know how to talk to them. So the problem has been there's never really been a tool to really do that for you. So I gave a bunch of tools, like using Google Trends and using keyword research and all these different things to try and identify who these people are and what's important to them. And I know that has been challenging for a lot of people. And even for the ones that know your market, like some of you you've been in your business for years and you know your people like the back of your hand, that part of the process is tripping you up because you think there's something that you're missing and you're not. You already know what you need to know. You just need to put it into context. That's what the whole workbook is about. So you can just jot the stuff down and have it clear in your mind for when you move into the creation process and you start, creating a sales process. So you know how to talk to them. That's really all it is. It's just really a simple thing. And I think it's time for everybody to just stop tripping over that and step over it and move on to the next realm. And that's where ChatGPT has really advanced and made that process so much easier. Because if you don't know these things, you can just ask it. You don't have to know how to use complicated software. All you have to know is how to type a question. And ChatGPT is very, very intuitive. It understands questions like, when I'm talking to somebody, I don't know if you guys have this experience, you're talking to somebody and they start asking you a question and it becomes 4 paragraphs long. And by the time they get to the end, you have no idea what the hell they're talking about. That happens all the time. And I know I do it myself. It's just part of human nature. But ChatGPT, it can do that, no problem. You can literally ask it a 3-paragraph question and it knows what you're talking about. It's really hard to mess it up. It truly is an intelligence level that can figure a lot of stuff out very easily. So thinking about that, if you're looking at, let's say you're looking at the ACT workbook, and let's assume you don't know anything about your market. You're entering a brand new market. You don't know anything about them. The first thing to do is to figure out, is it a profitable segment? So you might ask ChatGPT a question like, hey, in the whatever it is, does anybody have an example you want me to use for sake of making an example out of this? Like before, I think I used
use the markets that would actually want to. I want to take your $2 leads program, the vetted intent prospects, to people that want to buy the leads that we're generating. I don't know anything about that market.
okay.
What's up right now is, how do I figure out who do I need to go after? I think it's going to be the media buyers of the company, not the CEOs or whatever. But that's a wild ass guess. So if you have
Okay.
you have the stage as you always do. Thanks.
Gotcha. Okay, so if we're using that as an example, the very first thing, and this is always the first thing, is segmentation. So there is a number of different people that could want to buy leads, right? So that's a niche that, and we need to segment that down. That's the first job of segmenting that. So we might ask ChatGPT a question of all the people in the world that purchase leads, who is the largest volume consumer of leads? And what type of company would that be? And it's probably going to tell you, it's a lead generation company. So then now all of a sudden that eliminates you looking at all the different website owners and business owners and entrepreneurs. It's going to just push them to the side and tell you, you're looking for lead gen companies. And then you can ask it, okay, of lead gen companies, I'm looking for US based companies. Who are the big ones? And it's going to spit you out a list. So there's your prospect list right there. And then you can ask it further. You can say, based on this list, what's the most important thing to the person that's in charge of buying technology for lead generation? Right? Very, very specific. You're asking it these things, and it's going to come back. It's going to give you the information that you need. You can also say, what would be the biggest objections to this person if you were trying to sell them on a new technology that they had never heard about before to generate leads? Obviously, the first thing is going to be, does it work? They're going to be thinking, I've never heard of that. So it'll give you a list of all the objections, right? So again, what you're doing is you're getting to understand how this person thinks, right? You're boiling it down to, who is this? You might even ask it, like, in these companies, who's the person in charge of purchasing technology to generate leads? And that person, what's most important to them? What are going to be their objections? What are their fears? What are their goals? And with a handful of questions like that, you can even put it into paragraph phrase. You can ask it, all this stuff at once. And you can say, summarize and just tell me everything you can tell me about this buyer. And then it will spit out exactly what you're looking for. Does that make sense? You're just having a conversation with a machine. Instead of going out and trying to do research on your own and feel like you're in a black hole with technology you don't understand, this is going to be a lot more comfortable process for you to just have a conversation with a very intelligent being that is going to tell you anything you want to know. So you can, you can ask it all kinds of stuff. Anything you want to know for you to move forward and write your sales copy, just ask it. And the cool thing is, if you forget, if let's say you get into the sales copy and you're missing a piece, damn, I wish I knew this. Go, oh, I have somebody I can ask. You don't have to think like, wow, where am I going to get that information, or what tool do I need to dig that up, and how many of the 50 or 100 rocks am I going to have to turn over to find that? I think it will make the process really easy. I would love for you guys to test this out on your own, and then like next week come back and share what you've discovered about your analysis process. Like, what's your segment? What's your most profitable segment? You can also tell it too when you're asking it about the most profitable segment. Like, I did that a little differently when I did this. I said, who are the biggest buyers? Because that's the first leg of the thing, is you need an audience big enough to justify your sales goal. Remember, that's the three pillars of a profitable audience. Is the audience has to be big enough. They have to have the money. They have to be able to afford what you're selling. And what you're asking for, it has to be a value that they're going to want to pay for it. So it's those three things. No matter how you slice them, it doesn't matter what order they come in. It just has to check all three of those boxes. Got to be a big enough market. They have to want it bad enough to pay for it, and they actually have to be able to pay for it. That's it. That's all that matters. If you check those three boxes, you're good to move forward. And now, of those people that match that criteria, you're basically asking ChatGPT, of the people that match this, we're talking about the biggest buyers. And with that one, that's a really easy one, because you are talking about larger businesses. Anybody that's going to be in lead generation is going to have the money. As long as you provide the value, they're going to want to purchase it. So very easy to check those boxes on that one. Richard threw out an easy one for me. So now, once you've verified that first thing, you got your profitable segment, you just move on. You want to know everything you can know about, like, who is the person responsible for this. If it's a company, you need to know who in the company is going to be the one that you need to talk to. You also might want to know who they need to impress. Like, are they going to need to get permission from somebody above? And who would that be? And you want to know what's important to them, because in that scenario, if you're pitching to a person that's going to have to go ask permission to make this purchase, you need to arm them with what they need to know to plead their case, basically, of why they need this. So again, that's a nuance that is something you probably wouldn't have gotten from the last experience of going through analysis with the tools I provided. But you really need to understand who you're talking to and what's important to them. Like, and if it's in that case, like, in this example, there probably is somebody, the person that you're selling this technology to is probably going to have to get permission from somebody above to make this purchase. So that's an important thing to understand. The more you can understand about the person that you're trying to sell to, the better off you're going to be, the easier your process is going to be, and the more yeses that you're going to get. Right? Does this make sense so far? This
Okay, yeah.
Because and it doesn't matter who you're selling to or what you're selling. This is going to be identical in any sales process. I don't care if you're selling gumballs or Mack trucks or rocket rides to the moon. It really doesn't matter. You always have to find who the actual buyer is. And if there's someone that's going to influence that buyer, like your prospect might be a kid, you might be making children's toys. Well, the child's not really the purchaser, but you have to seduce the heart of the influencer. The child becomes the influencer in that case. So you're making ads to grab the attention of the child. The child's going to bring it to the attention of the parent. And now the parent's got a new problem in their day. So you have to understand the process all the way through to be able to implement your ideas and your solution into this world. right? I use this example all the time. We've got several clients that do rehab. One of them is alcohol and one's a drug rehab. And their marketing totally sucked. You know, when they brought it to me to figure out why it wasn't working, I'm like, well, you're trying to sell this to the person that's got the problem that doesn't think they have a problem. You are not going to win that war. You have to figure out who's paying the bill. That's who you need to convince that your solution is right. That's the person. You want the one that's, I'm going to use an old school thing that doesn't make sense anymore, but you need to find the guy writing the check. You know, I'm going to need to figure out what to say in the future on that one, because before long, people are going to go, what the hell is he talking about? Reddit? Well, a what?
Who's the guy sending the Venmo?
Yeah, exactly. Who's the Venmo user? But I know you guys know what I'm talking about. You know, you got to find the guy writing the check. For our group, we need to find the guy writing the check. And that's the guy that is going to be your avatar. The person with the rehab issue, they are not your avatar. They're just part of your solution. The solution, the problem that you're solving is for the person that loves them. Right? That's your customer. That's your avatar. That's the one you need to know what they're feeling. You need to know how to talk to them. Your job's not to talk to the person with the problem. Your solution is there to talk to them, but not your sales process. Remember, everything that we're doing on this side of the fence is marketing. It has nothing to do with anything other than showing the person that is going to buy the product why they need it. We're going to seduce the heart. We're going to convince the head. We're going to make an offer. That's really it. The only thing I didn't throw in was grab attention. We're going to grab attention first. So once you've systematically asked ChatGPT everything that you need to know about who this person is, what their problems are, what their experiences might have been, and you're thinking, you know, how the hell is this computer going to know how people are feeling? Because it's literally written, or it's read every article out there. All these people with these problems have been writing about them. There's posts, there's articles, there's comments, there's reviews. ChatGPT has read all of that. So it does literally know how they're feeling. And when you ask it, it's drawing on all of this information. I mean, how powerful is that to have all of that power in your pocket? And it's just flat out foolish not to use it. For you to not tap into that pool of information at this given point in our lives, it's foolish. I'm looking back at, you know, how I taught analysis, and with the advent now of ChatGPT, I see it. The process is foolish. I can see why it was so difficult. And I can see why it took people so long to get through it. And there was so much confusion and uncertainty. You know, even when you did it, you were still uncertain of the outcome because it wasn't clear. But at this point, using the AI, it should solve all of that.
John, can you, is there a way of integrating ChatGPT into it, or is it just one of the videos you have to add is, okay, here we go to this section, and the first thing you're going to need is a ChatGPT subscription, so go here, and then when you're there, and then walk them through how to use the ChatGPT, or is that what you're...
Yeah, that's really all it is. I'll just be introducing a new tool. I'll be eliminating a bunch of the other ones. You know, like there's the Facebook Insights. Several people have tried to do that, and they've changed it a lot now. And I don't think the same information is even in there as when I first taught it. So there's just a lot of stuff about the process that's out of date. And looking at what ChatGPT can do, it makes it all irrelevant. So yeah, I will create a video that shows how to set up a ChatGPT account, how to get in, how to access it, how to use it. It's really simple. Of all the tools I've ever used, it's probably the simplest.
One of the things I just came across is Mike Cooch, who you may or may not know. He is the guy that thinks that the current agency model in its current iteration is a complete disaster. You need to actually have, be selling programs and be a program provider, not trying to do clients one at a time. And one of the call he just did yesterday, there's a new feature in ChatGPT, which is where I didn't watch the whole thing. I got interrupted, but I recorded it. I can go back and watch it. But basically, like the guy that was doing the video sales letter that I gave you the early examples of, that was not all that great. Oh, but how he basically fed in examples. Here's examples of what I do and what I want and this sort of stuff. And he broke it down to, here's the intro, here's this sort of thing, and here's this sort of thing. Here are the basic formats. Here's examples of the formats. Now that you have all that, here's and he listed his 3 points, and ChatGPT put it out. You said it sounded a little salesy. You're right, but he's doing video sales letters, so it's that kind of a thing. What it looks like now is ChatGPT has built that into their own things, where there's a section where you can go in and set up parameters and it will either apply it to the one current post you're doing or to all the posts that you've ever done with regard to, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to always talk about this. I want you to never talk about this. I want you to frame things this way. You have to include call to action, and you put all that stuff in there. So now ChatGPT has all this stuff about knowing how you want your stuff written, and then you start doing your prompts. So there's, I don't even know if you're aware of that new feature, but that right there will absolutely increase and reduce that. You were talking about, you can read the first line of an email and tell whether the ChatGPT, wrote it or not. You put in there, never use that first line in an email, and it won't ever use those things. But have you seen that yet? Do you know more about that than my just skimming along the top understanding?
Yeah, I don't know that is actually built into ChatGPT itself. There's a couple.
It is now. It is now. I went there last night, and it says new feature, and it.
Okay. Because they've probably got that. There's been a bunch of people using APIs on ChatGPT, and what a lot of the API stuff is doing exactly that. And what they're doing, they're basically just wrapping the chat window with a bunch of data. Like when you put that data in, it's creating your own filters. So like, I talk about a lot of my prompts are 3 and 4 paragraphs long. A lot of that is common standard stuff that I might use all the time. So I could use that. I could set that up as just a generic filter. So every time it did anything for me, it would be working in those parameters. So instead of me having to type out those 3 or 4 paragraphs, they're just automatically there. So that's something that there's actually a program that I bought with reseller rights that I was going to give to everybody. And I just haven't had a chance to get in and play with it yet, but it does the same thing. It allows you to create multiple like personas for that. So instead of, if ChatGPT might just be one, this program will allow you to make multiple. And then that way, whenever you're asking it something, it will already be pre-trained like what you're talking about, which,
well, you really need to carve out some time for that, John, if that's something you're going to do, because if you don't do that pre-programming about here's how I want you to write so it fits to me, you're going to continue to get garbage unless you write your multi-sentence thing each time, or you have that ability to create the different personas. So what is that software?
Oh, I don't know offhand. It's I've got like 3 or 4 of them in a folder that are just sitting there waiting for me to go in and get dialed in. One of them is a graphics program. One of them is like taking Midjourney to a whole new level. And all of them I bought reseller rights, so everybody in the membership here can get access to all that stuff for free. So once I get it all dialed in, that will be stuff that will be released to you guys inside the members area. So cool stuff. I mean, it really is, especially when you get to the creation process. If we can train it, I mean, think about this. If we can train it on the big idea script and then have it just spitting out big ideas one right after another for us, you get that a big idea is nothing more than a doorway lead into your offers, right? It's a way to grab people's attention. And as you know, if you've got a pot of, even if they all match your ideal avatar, you might have, 10,000 people in the pot. Well, obviously, there's not going to be 10,000 people that are truly identical. They're going to fit into a category that classifies them as your ideal client or your ideal customer, but they're not all going to react to the same thing. The same approach is not going to grab all of them. Like, the obvious split is men and women. Men are geared for significance, women are geared for security. So you could have ChatGPT knocking out big idea after big idea. And this is just like, imagine that 10,000 pool. One big idea might get you 10 people, or 50 people, whatever it is. But if you had two, now you're going to effectively get double the amount of eyeballs. If you had 10, you're going to get 10 times the amount of eyeballs. This is a factor. Like when we do our year-end thing and we do the year-end analysis and we look back over the year, one of the questions is, how many different offers did you make? How many different big ideas did you have? How many ways did you create to bring new people into your fold? And with ChatGPT, imagine if it's just knocking these things out left and right, expanding your front opening opportunity. Like instead of you just doing one per year, if you could do 10, or why not 100? Because once you create your marketing campaign, you literally are talking about changing one page in the process. You're cloning the big idea page. So once you've got one big idea that leads to a lead magnet. You could use the same exact lead magnet, and everything beyond that step is exactly identical in your marketing campaign. The only difference is the attention grabber. What if ChatGPT ground out 100 different attention grabbers for you, and you just went into Kartra and you just hit clone, 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 copy, paste, copy, paste. Now you have 100 effective marketing campaigns running instead of one. I mean, do you think you would make more money? It wouldn't take you that much longer to do that. And it would literally take you almost zero brain power.
Hey, John, can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
When you say having multiple campaigns, is it different approaches to the core product you're selling? Or is it literally just coming up with different campaigns for different products?
No, this is for one product.
One product.
This is like you have one product, you've figured out how to present that product.
Right.
You've figured out how to eliminate all the objections. You've created the perfect offer for that product. Mm-hmm. The only thing we're changing is the front end of how we pull people into that sequence.
Okay. So it would just be a different approach, different approaches, different ChatGPT approaches, and all in an effort to find out which one has the most grab. Which one has the most people that land on the page, people that download the thing, people that get into your funnel.
Yes.
Okay.
It would be like if you were in an auditorium with 10,000 people in it and you said, everybody that's your favorite color is purple, raise your hand and come with me. You'd get some people raise their hand and you'd take them aside into the next room and you'd make a presentation. And then you come back and you say, all right, all of you blue folks, who loves blue? Raise your hand, come with me. All you pink lovers, all the Barbie people, come on down. And it's like at the end of the road, you've got all of them instead of just a little fractional percentage of that room. That's your big idea. That's your attention grabber. That one attention grabber is not going to grab everybody. And all that is that's just a different angle to grab someone's attention, because if you don't grab their attention, you cannot make your sales presentation, right? It's impossible to make a sales presentation unless you've got eyeballs on your offer, right? The only way to get them in there is to grab their attention. That's big idea 100% all the way. You literally
I have a
have a
question.
robot at your disposal to make as many of those as you want now. So that,
So I have a question.
yeah, go ahead, Rashid.
Would this, can you be running these simultaneously on autopilot, or do you have to do them separately somehow?
No, they're all running simultaneously. Like if you think about this, you put your Kartra campaign together and it's sitting there. It's like a mousetrap sitting there waiting for someone to take the bait. Right. And then you can tell your people about it. You can send out emails, you can send links, you can post in social media. All this stuff is ways of traffic. See, this is the third and final piece of ACT is traffic. When you send traffic, if you have 100% of your traffic pool and the only thing you have to send them to is one landing page with one big idea, you are now in that big auditorium and you're saying, who likes purple? And that's it. That's all you're ever going to get is who likes purple.
So
Now,
do you send-
if you had 10 of those pages and you're sending out 10 of these messages into social media and 10 emails, 10 subject lines, you all of a sudden are going to get 10 times more eyeballs on your offers. And theoretically, that should put 10 times more people in your funnel. That should give you 10 times more sales.
So you're sending 10 different attention grabber to the same list.
Correct. That is absolutely correct. It's like, you know, any of you that have had kids or watched kids develop, what does a kid do? Asks dad for something, right? And dad says no. What do you think that kid's going to do next? Mommy, can I have this? Or uncle, can I have this? You're going to go on down the line till they exhaust the possibilities. But that kid's going to get the thing he wants. And you're just the reverse of that. You're going to say, hey, you like it this way. Oh, let me put some orange sauce on it for you. Maybe you'll like it that way. Or, oh, no, you like barbecue flavor? Okay, come on in. It's the same thing. It's just giving the opportunity to everyone. Everyone should have the opportunity to see what you've got and see how it can help them. And the only way you'll ever get to do that is to deliver your presentation. And the only way you'll do that is by getting eyeballs on it. So you want as many different angles to get in as many people as possible to watch your presentation.
Hey, John. So with that, the way to apply that then, if my product is to help couples talk about money and to work together with money, if you're saying I can create 10 or 100 different approaches, but they would have to be targeted. I would have to ask ChatGPT specific questions. Like, for example, if people being married for the first time, what is it they want? I would then ask a separate avatar for what about people that are on their second marriage?
Those are segments. So within that segment, let's say you go first time marriage.
Yeah.
And then you ask ChatGPT, how many different personalities are there in this pool? And then what's important? Give me 10 different lead ideas for the men. Give me 10 different ones for the women. Because sometimes it's going to be, this is going to grab the attention of the man or the woman. And then that's what's going to pull them in. And then they're going to be now the one. Remember, I talked about they might need an influencer to make the purchase. In your case, a lot of times they're going to make the purchase together. But it's only one or the other. They're not going to be doing the research at the same time.
Right.
Very, very rare are you going to have them both together when you're grabbing their attention.
Right.
Very rare.
But you're saying if I get different, because you said in the beginning, they're driven by relevance, or what is the phrase? Significance. And women, let's say, and again, I could ask ChatGPT, woman going into her first marriage, what is important to her, what, so once I get those different approaches to a segmented, be it male, let's say male first marriage, female first marriage, totally different questions for ChatGPT about the same topic, but a different approach. Once I get that, I would just need to then find out not where married couples hang out, but where single men getting married hang out. Like, in other words, once I get that
traffic.
text, that's traffic. I just have to figure out where they are. So you're saying
Correct.
ChatGPT can get me even more specific bait.
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
Okay.
for instance, you wouldn't want to post your significant male lead magnet into a women's group, right? That's a different traffic channel.
Right.
You always match the traffic channels to the big ideas.
And here's the thing. So I could ask, I just got goose pimples. So I could ask ChatGPT for the specific language for a specific half of that relationship. And then I'm thinking, oh crap, how am I going to find out where they are? If
Just ask
only
it.
I could ask somebody.
Yeah. Where do they hang out?
Where do they hang out?
What social media posts or what social media channels do they follow? What groups are they in Facebook? What's the most popular hangouts? Anything you want, it'll tell you.
Because if ChatGPT is accumulating this data from the post, from the hangouts, from the group, it's like, how can it not know where they are if it's pulling that information?
Yeah, this is like the ultimate in mind reading. You go into that group, you already know what they're thinking.
But then to help me find it, that's well, there's even a middle step there. I can ask the questions to get the best wording. Then it can print out the wording. It's one thing to get the information and then have to sit there and write it, but it in its response, it gives me the information, and then I can ask it where to find it, where to post it, where to.
Yeah, you can literally ask it, because as you're doing this process inside ChatGPT, as long as you're in the same window on the same topic, it's learning this topic. And then you can say, okay, once I grab their attention, you can even ask it, what's the perfect thing to give them as a first step to get their desired outcome? And that's your lead magnet. That could be your freebie.
Let me ask you just better prompt. What problem could I solve?
No.
What freebie could?
Because think about it. I've said this a million times. Your freebie that you're offering them should give them an immediate result on a very tiny micro step that moves them toward getting what they ultimately want. It's very useful, but incomplete. That makes the perfect lead magnet. Useful, but incomplete. Like, I use the example of David D'Angelo in teaching men how to date women. He understands the biggest problem is, and the first step that they would have to take would be learning how to talk to women, right? That's not ultimately what they want. They don't want to know how to talk to women. They want to know how to go out with them. They want to know how to get a mate, right? That's their goal. That's the desired outcome. But you come in and you say, if you want, the perfect mate, you're not going to have it unless you know how to talk to women. So let me help you with that. And I guarantee you, if you can take this one step, you'll be able to get the rest of the way there. So you're delivering an immediate result, teaching them how to talk to women. But guess what? They want the next thing. They want to know how to ask them out on a date next. So that's what you give them. And this goes to Frank Kern's thing, that once you've grabbed their attention, you give them what you want. You over deliver by stacking the cool. That's what Frank Kern calls this technique, is stacking the cool. You give them what they ask for. Like, they just asked how to talk to women. So you give them that, and you're cool because you gave them that. But now you're going to stack the cool part, and you're going to say, now that you know how to talk to women, let me tell you what the next step is. And I've got a video here that explains how to do that. And we're going to get you a date. If we can get you a date, you're just that much closer to getting what you really want. And the closer you get them to what they want, the more their desire to purchase something goes through the roof. The more they're willing to spend to get it. Because what you've given them, this is the most important thing. What you gave them was confidence. You gave them the confidence to know they can get what they want. And that is the biggest driver in sales of anything. If they have no confidence to get what they want, they have no desire to take a step further because it's just a waste of their time and they're going to get let down and they don't want that. So they're pushing away. They're literally repelling you. If they don't think they can truly have what you're promising, they are going to be repelled at a ferocious rate. There's no way in hell they're going to purchase your product unless they have the confidence that they can actually get what it's promising. So that's why the lead magnet is so important, that you follow those rules. You give them the first step. It's really important that they can take that step just in an instant, almost in their mind. Like that person, when they got the information of how to talk to women, they knew how to talk to women without having talked to one yet. They gave them the confidence. And then guess what? They went out and tried it. And naturally, okay, it works. You guys know, right, that you open your lips and you're now talking to women, right? You know, there's no way to fail. You can get rejected, but you're not going to fail talking to women, right? And he even tells them, he goes, expect a failure the first time you do this. If you do that, you're on the right track. You've done good. So now they try it, and exactly what he told them is going to happen happened. And now they've got the confidence. Holy shit, this stuff works. Right? He just created an incredible demand for whatever's next, and you haven't even told them yet. All you're going to do now is you're going to take them through a sales process, walking them through the journey of how to get what they really want, telling them what's involved, and then all of a sudden now you're going to make an offer that, here's the thing I have that's going to help transport you there. You're selling them a transporter to deliver the desired outcome. That is also what we call a unique mechanism. The unique mechanism is the thing that delivers the result. It's the thing that does the work to provide the outcome. So when you're making a big idea, you have a promise of the ultimate desired outcome. You have the unique delivery mechanism to take them there. You're saying it in a way they've never heard it before. And now you're giving them a call to action to give them a free first step. That first step is going to give them the confidence to know, hey, I can actually have this thing. So when they go into your presentation, if you can send them into that presentation carrying that confidence level that they've already taken the first step and you're the one that gave it to them, you're going to be freaking unstoppable. You're going to give them the rest of your presentation. You're going to eliminate their objections along the way, and you're going to make an offer, and they're going to say yes at a very, very high level. When you see these marketers that are just killing it, they're just flat killing it online. I guarantee you, if you go back and you analyze exactly what they're doing, this is it. This is what makes the difference. If you're doing anything outside of this, you're stepping all over your toes trying to walk forward. And you're probably just falling down. You're probably just falling on your face one after another times. So it is an exact process. You know, the sales process. Now, there are certain people that do it different ways, but if you really step back and analyze it, they're doing the same thing. There's a million different ways to paint this picture, but you got to make sure you're using the right color palette to do it. You know, there's no magic thing I've ever seen that works outside of this. I wish there was, I wish I could say, oh yeah, you can do this any way you want, but you really can't. And you see people all day long struggling and failing at this. And if you look at what they're doing, I guarantee you it's outside of what I'm talking about. Because if you're doing it the way I'm talking about doing it, it works. If it's not working, you missed one of the 3 pieces to the puzzle. Either you didn't identify the market, you don't know who you're talking to, you don't understand what they really want, or you haven't brought it to them. That's it. Those are the 3 points of failure. And that is the 3 points of failure in any business. It's quoted in Forbes magazine, the article that I use as my proof point. The Forbes comes out with the claim of, 80% of businesses are going to fail in 18 months. Their proof points are the 3 things I just said. They tell you what causes the failures. It's not segmenting the market, not identifying the market, not being able to effectively communicate your value. That's the creation process. And not bringing your message to the market. That's analysis, creation, and traffic. You'll find the problem in one of those 3 buckets. And you'll find it every time. If your marketing and your sales is not working, I guarantee you're going to find it in one of those 3 buckets. Those are the points of issue in almost every case. So, and the cool thing is ChatGPT will help you grease through this so quickly. A lot of people ask me how I can do this stuff without tools and things. Like, you guys have seen me do this time after time. You'll throw something out and I'll come up with a big idea, like boom, like that. It's because I've worked with so many different businesses. I understand so many of these different segments already. It's almost like I'm a ChatGPT for you. But to have access to that tool 24/7, that's really what you're getting. You're getting something that has the experience with everything you want to know already. It's already preloaded, and all you have to do is ask it the questions. It's really cool. You can even you can ask it, what's the best way for me to write a follow-up email? You can tell it what you're doing. Tell it, now that you've told me what the first step is, I plan to make a PDF and I want to make sure that they download it. So I'm going to send them 3 follow-up emails. What should I say? What should the subject lines be to make sure when they see this, they open it and make sure they consume the content? And it'll write the emails for you. And then you can say, I want to do a webinar after this. I want to invite them to a webinar that's free that will help them understand all what they need to know to get their true desired outcome, and outline what should be in the webinar. If you want to train it on the ACT process, you can literally say, you can say, what would be all the objections? And then on each objection, you can isolate the objection and say, I use a formula that I call claim proof benefit. I make a claim contrary to whatever the belief is on this objection. The belief, what's the belief that's creating this? I make a contrary claim to that belief, and then I follow it up with 2 proof points. Please provide 2 valid proof points that's third-party reference saying what I just claimed is true. And then after that, I want to attach it back to the benefit of the outcome of once they get through this objection and they take the offer, the outcome. So it's claim proof benefit. You can train it on the process. So it can literally do your claim proof benefit statements for you. You can train it on the big idea. say, I want to use David Ogilvy's big idea formula, which consists of a big promise of their true desired outcome. It also includes a unique delivery mechanism. In my case, here's the name of my unique delivery mechanism that I want you to use. And then I need you to say it in a unique, compelling way that creates curiosity. And you can give it an example, like, use a metaphor that they will understand. Use a metaphor that my audience will truly get and understand and associate with. And you've just taught it the framework for the formula, and you basically have a calculator now that can spit out these calculations for you all day long. And you can say, okay, that's the big idea formula. Now I want a big idea with this angle. I want a big idea for the women. I want a big idea for the single women that are just getting married for the first time. I want one for the men that have maybe been in 2 previous marriages and they're marrying a woman that's never been married. So they're coming into this relationship with extra additional knowledge. I want one for them. And it'll just be shitting these things out left and right for you. These are the things that are going to multiply your sales on the back end. You literally have a bulldozer that no one else has. I can almost guarantee you that who you're competing against is not doing this at this level. They are not using the horsepower of ChatGPT because they haven't figured it out yet. They're still using it for cute birthday cards. They haven't figured out how to turn this thing into a money-making mongrel that it could be. And that's the power that's sitting right at your fingertips right now. It'll do anything for you. If you think about it, a sales presentation is nothing more than a string of facts that, just like if you were to go into a courtroom, you're going to assemble all the facts, right? If you want to win your case, you're going to walk into that courtroom and you're going to assemble all the facts, which consists of, guess what? A claim, proof points, and benefits. And if you can create your presentation with a string of those, by the end, there'll be no objections left over because you've already annihilated them all. You've created the desire, the demand and desire, because now they understand how the process works because you just walked them through the whole thing. And you make your offer. And you're just sending the jury into the deliberation room to come out with an innocent verdict in your favor. Right? And that's going to put money in your pocket. And if you send them in there to make that decision before you've got all the facts out on the table and eliminated all the objections, you're going to get a guilty verdict. It's going to be no sale. No soup for you.
Hey, can I ask you a softball devil's advocate question?
Sure.
Okay. So you go through the process and you get the response from ChatGPT and it doesn't work. It doesn't work the product. Is it that ChatGPT's got it wrong, or that I need to work on asking better prompts?
It could be any number of things. It could be it was one sentence off. That's why ChatGPT can spit out an unlimited number of these. Yeah. So it's probably not going to be the sequence. It's probably not going to be the sequence that doesn't work. It will probably be, and you'll know this right up front. If ChatGPT gives you a big idea and you send that big idea out to 100 people and no one responds, then it's wrong. And it doesn't really matter whose fault it was.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it was ChatGPT's fault or your fault for not asking the question right. It was just wrong. Do it again.
Okay. So
go back to ChatGPT and say, hey, nobody responded to this. What do you think the issue was? Let's brainstorm here.
Yeah. Because it's not, this is one thing, it's not like magic beans, or it's not like a magic process. Like I just need to wrap my head around this. I'm not going to ask it questions the first time. It's going to give me the, everything I need to know. And by the way, it might give me more, there's still an editing process. It might give me a lot, But if I'm just looking for a headline and a subheadline and one little paragraph, it's still up to me to kind of edit it or ask it to condense it. The point is, it's not going to be a magic bullet that'll get it right out of the gate. So I guess that's really my question. What happens when it's not converting? So you're saying just go back and
Don't spend any time at all on a failure.
okay.
Fail fast.
Yeah.
And that's why I said if you have it give you 10 different angles and you're running them all out simultaneously, you'll see the winners right away. This is going to be, they call it a split test. What you do, and anybody that teaches how to do Facebook marketing, Facebook ads, Google ads, any kind of ads, they all tell you start with 5.
Mm-hmm.
Run 5 or 3 or whatever. It's never 1. It's never 1 ad. You start with 3 to 5 variations. You run a certain amount of traffic to it. You analyze the results. You kick out the bad ones. You replace them with other ideas and you run the test again. And you do that. Now you might have a new winner. That's your new control group.
Yeah.
Whatever the winner is always known as control. That controls the group. And then what you do is you eliminate the losers. You might have 2 controls. You might have 2 that are kicking butt. One's better than the other, but they're both kicking butt. I would never throw one out that's kicking butt.
Yeah.
I would just have control 1, control 2, and now I'm going to test 3 more variations against them.
Okay.
Because ultimately, when you start running these tests and you run out of things that will beat control, you got it.
Okay.
Then you can just rip it loose and start, increasing your budget and start making serious money.
All right. Can I ask you one more question about that then?
Sure.
Well, first of all, as you're talking about this, the image that comes to mind is the Harry Potter movies, right? You got all these kids, they got a magic wand, but you know how in the magic, they'll like cast a spell for a donut and they'll get a frog. You know what I mean? It's like you got the magic wand. You just like Harry Potter, you need to learn how to use it and cast the right spell.
I guarantee you're going to get some frogs. You are going to get some toads. I guarantee it.
Oh, but I want donuts.
You can't not.
Yeah. Okay. So, but that's a good expectation. That's a good visual. It's like you got the magic wand. You still got to learn how to use it. Okay.
Yeah. Here's a little secret to success here. The secret to success is how many times you can fail. That's it. How many times can you fail? You need to be able to get through the failures and get to the good one. The faster you can fail, the number of times it's going to take for you to find your success, the sooner you're going to get there. And ChatGPT is just giving you the ability to fail 10 times faster.
Yeah.
That's all it's doing. It's getting you there quicker.
Okay. But the other side of that coin, John, is you need a CRM. You need a system that has analytics that can show you
absolutely
what's working and you need the mechanics behind it to analyze it, see what's working, and keep track of that.
Absolutely. Roger, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that ChatGPT, one of the things I have found is, yes, you can prompt engineer, and I'm getting better at that. But what I'll do is I'll just write some prose that I think is salesy prose, striking my personal balance. It's my own words. Then I'll put that into ChatGPT and I'll ask to improve it in 3 ways. Improve it so it sounds the best, improve it so it's Perry Belcher, and improve it so it's Russell Brunson. And it'll come back with variations. And I am more often than not thinking, oh, geez, I am so outclassed. It's way better than I wrote.
Oh, yeah. Especially when you tell it like flavors like Perry Belcher and Russell Brunson. When you give it that, you can actually ask it first if it understands Perry Belcher's writing style.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know it does. But if you're like, I asked it one time about somebody, I think it was John Carlton, and it didn't know who it was. And then I asked it, do you know David Ogilvy? And it says, yes. I said, how familiar are you with David Ogilvy's writing style? And it said, very familiar. And I said, awesome. Let's use that as the tone of this message. And I swear, I mean, when I was reading it, I could hear David Ogilvy's voice in it. It was amazing. So that's what they call tone and style. If you're not prompting with tone and style, you're not getting it. You're getting, the less you tell it, the more it's going to sound robotic. Cheesy prompts will get you robotic output. That's where you'll get, I hope this email finds you well. I hope you guys are prompting better than to get something like that. And I got to tell you, you're so much further ahead just by listening to this and knowing what you know now after the last hour. You are so far, like leaps and bounds ahead of 99% of the people using ChatGPT for marketing than you realize.
I have a follow-up question.
Huh?
This is a real issue. I don't know if others can relate, but I suspect they will. We have a certain level of intrinsic salesiness. Everybody does, right? When we believe in our product, so we're willing to sell. But sometimes ChatGPT comes back with that really salesy sounding stuff, and we're like, oh, that doesn't reflect our personality. And so we're thinking, oh, we'll dial it back. But then, and I'm telling you, Michelle and I have had these conversations.
Yeah.
Then we're thinking, but are we choosing to leave money on the table and clients uncaptured because we're unwilling to let it be that salesy? Or conversely, are we turning off probably our best clients who inherently pull off of anybody who is just overly salesy?
Yeah. And salesy is a relative term, really. The way I look at it is, I look at it like from the seduce the heart, convince the head perspective. I am never, you'll never see me in any of my materials ever really trying to hammer a sale. I always am like, I'm leaning back, and I tell everybody, you're supposed to lean forward, but I actually lean back. When it comes time to push the sale, I actually lean back, and I use a reverse tact on it. I say, now that you know enough, you can make a decision whether this is right for you. And if it's not, I don't encourage you to purchase it. It's almost like a soft takeaway that kind of makes them want it even more. And it takes, for me, it takes all the salesiness out of my stuff. Like, have you guys ever heard me actually sound like salesy, like pushy on a sale ever? And I sell pretty well.
Never.
Yeah. I mean, I do pretty well on sales, but I'm never pushing sales. What I'm doing is I am demonstrating value. That's all I'm doing. I'm demonstrating value. I'm showing how what I'm showing you will get you the result that you want. And I'm potentially eliminating objections in the way. And then my offer is really just that. It's like, hey, here's the thing. If you think that this is right for you, then that's awesome. I would love to have you aboard, and I look forward to working with you. And that's about it. That's about as salesy as I go. Like sometimes if I'm doing a webinar for marketers that are pushing agency level, then I'll push it a little harder. I will actually tell them that they are a fool if they don't take this offer. But again, it doesn't feel salesy. I'm not like begging and pleading for a sale. I'm basically putting out the facts, and I'm saying, look, based on this, I think you would feel like a fool if you didn't take this offer. That's it. But on them, I'm not pulling back. I'm not saying, well, it's up to you to decide if this is right for you. I'm telling them it's right for them. I'm telling them this is a no-brainer thing. I just showed you 2 + 2 = 4. There's no arguing. you'd be a fool not to take it.
John,
But again-
that the technical term is voice for that. That would be something where you can feed your stuff into it and say, okay, here's my voice, use this voice. And that will answer your question, Roger, is to, how you do that is feed it in stuff that you think is your voice and a good way to do it, and say, okay, write this way and it'll do that.
Yeah, but that's, and again, there's a lot of different like structures, formulas and stuff for these presentations. I personally love the one that Frank Kern put out called Magic Model. I love that format, that framework for a presentation. And the framework kind of goes something like this. He opens it up with a big ass problem. He says he shines a light on the big ass problem, right? Whatever that is, he shines a light on it. And then he basically makes it worse, and he comes in and he said, if that wasn't bad enough, here it gets even worse. And then he calls that twisting the knife. So he shines a light on the big ass problem, then he twists a knife, and then he takes you off the hook and he says, but it's not so bad for some people. In fact, some people, it's the opposite. Some people are getting great results. Like he used the example, and I used the same example when I opened up at Glacier Kennedy. I knew there was a lot of chiropractors in the room. And so I opened up with a claim that, X amount of chiropractors are going to be out of business by the end of the year. They're going to actually have closed their doors by the end of the year. And then I say, the twist of the knife was, oh God, what was the twist of the knife? I'd have to go back and look at it, but I twisted the knife on it and said, it's even worse, this, that, and the other. And then I said, but some are going to have their best year ever. And now all of a sudden I've got this contrast of like, wow, I want to be in that side of the pool, right? I want to be one of the chiropractors that's having the best year ever. And then I showed him how that's going to happen. I'm like, imagine if you're the one left standing and now all of a sudden 80% of your competitors are gone. That's 8 out of 10 of the thorns that were in your side just got plucked out. You'd be feeling pretty good. Right? And then I say, let me show you how to make sure you're in that percentage. Let me make sure you're not in the percentage that's going to close their doors. Here's the difference. Here's what they're doing. And I went into, my twist of the knife was traditional advertising no longer works. Because that's what most of them were doing. I said 80% of you are going to close your doors by the end of the year. And worse yet, advertising that used to keep your doors open is no longer working. So that ain't going to help you. And then I said, but some are going to have their best year ever. My whole point to the guiding of that story was the light at the end of the tunnel was SEO. Their customers were no longer using the yellow pages, was the storyline to my story I was telling. And I was guiding them through how to use this new thing they'd never heard of called SEO to be the thing that was their savior. And I showed them, I said, let me walk you through how it works so you can take advantage of it. And I just shared exactly what we do. I walk them up the mountain. I exposed the pitfalls. I said, if you're going to do this, be careful here. So I put some scarcity in. I put some fear in it. Like if you do this wrong, you'll get pummeled. You'll never be the same. So I was putting fear in the process to where if you don't do this right, you're going to cause damage. And I'm here being their guide. I'm being their Alfred so they can be Batman. And then at the top of the mountain, I said, looking back down the hill, now we're here. We're at the summit. We're where we want to be. And looking back down, I go, that was quite a journey. So what I offered them was to just help them climb the mountain. That was my offer, was here's how to do it. And I'm here to help you if you want the help. If you want a guide to walk you up that mountain, that's me. And that was basically my offer at the end. And that that basically I walked out the back door with $174,000 in sales from that one presentation. It was the first time I'd ever done it. I followed Frank's formula, his framework to the T, and it worked, and it's been working ever since. Every time I use that formula, it works. Doesn't matter what I'm selling. I do that. I'll shine the light on the big ass problem. I'll twist a knife in it. I'll tell them, oh, it's not so bad if you're on the right side of the fence. Let me show you how to get there. And I walk them up the hill. And then at the top of the hill, I offer to help them. That's, in a nutshell, that's the formula. That's his magic model formula. He sold that for $2,000. And I just put it in a nutshell for you. So it's a great formula. And like I said, it worked the first time I used it. Frank actually used it to sell it. When he sold the magic model, he actually used it himself. And Frank does this a lot. If you watch his sales presentation, you'll get 95% of what he's going to sell you. He gives you literally 95%. And I'm the kind that I can piece the other 5% together without paying for it. I paid for it anyway. And I discovered I was right again, that I was paying $2,000 for 5% that I already knew. But hey, that's just the way it goes. It's part of the learning curve. But that's what he does. 95% he gives away in the presentation. So if you pay attention, you can learn a lot from presentations, watching presentations. Like everybody asks, why do I keep going to conferences? Why do I keep sitting through presentations? Every time I see a presentation, I learn something. I'm learning either what to do or what not to do. And in most cases, I'm learning what not to do, which saves me, on the other end. So when I actually do a presentation, I know exactly what to do and what not to do, because I've seen them over and over and over. And literally I'm there and I'm just analyzing every step of everything the person on stage is doing. And it's amazing how much you can learn by watching them. Like I walked into a Lisa Sasevich presentation, and you'll notice if you ever see me at a conference or something, I'll be in the back row at one of the far corners. And I sit there for a reason. That's an engineered reason why I take that seat. I'll get there early in many cases so I can get that seat. It's so I can see the room. I observe from the back of the room so I can see the whole room. So whatever's happening on stage, I can see the reaction of everyone in the seats. So I know what's working and what's not. I know when they're drifting off. I know when they're losing them. I know how they pull them back, all of that stuff. So I'm sitting there and I'm learning every minute of every presentation. I'm watching the interaction with the audience. But Lisa's, I walked into her room and I noticed every other seat had a Kleenex box under the seats. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. All pre-engineered. And I got to tell you, it was the most diabolical, hardcore sales presentation I have ever seen in my life. And I didn't like it. It was the most manipulative thing I've ever seen, just flat out evil to the core. And I still don't know if the story that was told was true, but it was just a gnarly engineered story to take people's money. And I'm talking about take a lot of their money. They had a group in the back of the room that was financiers to finance your house to get you to pay for this thing. And I'm just like, what the hell are they doing here? It was just, I didn't like it at all. Did not care for that. I really don't like to see people get taken advantage of. And that's exactly what happened in that room. Completely just premeditated. It was ugly. So, all right. Well, hopefully that helped you guys, like AI, how to use it, how to integrate it into ACT, right from the get-go, right from the analysis process. You guys can literally just throw all the rest of the tools and training out the window for analysis and use exactly what I just told you, and you will be just fine. And you'll probably be able to do it in, I don't know if minutes, but definitely within hours instead of days, weeks, months, and years. Because that's what I've been seeing. I've been seeing people stuck in analysis for weeks, if not months, and in some cases even years. And it's like, there is no reason to sit in analysis that long. You should be in and out of analysis in one day. Literally, you should be on to creation. And creation really shouldn't take that long either. Like we did, if your messaging is all together, putting it in and automating it into a system like Kartra isn't that long of a process. You can literally do it in a day, maybe 2 days if you're just getting started. Like we did that tutorial with Chris. We started Chris's campaign from nothing. It was a brand new Kartra account. And we had, without the messaging plugged in, we had the framework of the thing all put together in about a little over 4 hours. And that video training is up for you guys in the ACT program. You can literally just watch it, follow over my shoulder, and just do exactly what I'm doing. And you could have your campaign up in no time. The messaging, you might spend messaging. I spend quite a bit of time on. Like I'm always working on my messaging, always. Like I have a bunch of different things that are running. I sell a lot of different programs. I'm working on a new one, the AI leads program. I'm working on the messaging for that right now. And I've vacillated back and forth with the messaging, many variations. I'm still working on it. And luckily the program's not ready to release, so I'm in no time crunch, but that'll be coming up pretty soon. But guaranteed, when that program's ready to release, when I can sell that thing, I'm going to start selling it on day one. I am not going to worry if my messaging is perfect. I'm not going to worry if my lead magnets are perfect. I am going to open the doors and start taking in money on day one. And you guys should all be doing that. If you have a product to sell, you should not be delaying it 1 second. If you have a product that is ready to sell and you have people that are ready to use it, ready to buy it, whether you have a funnel up or not, you should be telling them about it and making them the offer, even if it is in face-to-face, one at a time, by hand, on the phone, whatever it is. And what you'll do by doing that is you'll start to learn the process. If you deliver your messaging face-to-face, you'll have an advantage because you can see the outcome. You can see the response of the person you're talking to. And you'll know by their body language if you've got it right or not. You'll know if they start to feel uncomfortable, you go, oh, we want to take that out or make a change there. You can tell if you get to the end, and my soft approach to a close is always, does this sound like something you want to move forward with? That's all I say. That's my close. Does this sound like something you want to move forward with? And I don't say anything beyond that. I literally zip it and wait for a response. Sometimes the response will be immediate. Sometimes it'll take up to a couple of minutes, which makes you very uncomfortable. But you have to stay silent because they're processing. And if you say a single word while they're processing, you're going to kill the whole process and you're going to start over. So just say nothing. Just sit there and just, look at them, be attentive, but do not speak a word. Let them speak first. They'll either say one of three things. They'll either say yes, they'll say no, or they'll have a question or a comment. There won't be anything outside of that. It'll be a yes, a no, a question, or a comment. If it's a yes, don't go in any deeper in the weeds. Just pull the paperwork out and place the order. And then say, I'll follow up with you, do all the details later. Take all the yuck out of the celebration. Do not fuck up the celebration by taking them in the weeds. Make the sale, finish the deal, and then schedule an appointment for the follow-up. Put the weeds in a follow-up separate presentation. Right? Do never take them into the weeds at the point of sale. Oftentimes they'll back out of the sale. And you don't want that. Give them that cool off period. Let them celebrate. Let them revel in the purchase they just made. It's going to make them feel good. Don't poke a hole in that balloon. Let them feel good. Right? If they say no, so that's it. If they say yes, do the paperwork, get the nitty gritty, thank them, congratulate them, schedule the follow-up. That's it. If they say no, simply ask them, gee, what's holding you back? All you're doing is you're just asking them, what was the objection that you didn't handle? When they tell you the thing that's holding them back, usually it'll be not the real thing. It'll be a superficial answer. And when they say it, acknowledge it, accept it, don't argue, just accept it and say, okay, I get that. Other than that, is there anything else? Outside that, I totally understand that. But if it weren't for that, is there anything else holding you back? Usually when you ask that, you'll get the real objection. The superficial one will become bullshit, not even real. Now you'll get the real one. And they'll tell you what's really in the way. Like the first one might be, well, I got to talk to my wife. That's not a real objection. That's a blow off. That's not the real deal. And you ask them, well, if that wasn't the thing, was there anything else holding you back? And then they'll say, well, yeah, I really can't afford it. Now you've got the real thing, or whatever. Or, my brother tried that and it didn't work for him. You'll get the real thing the second time you ask. So now that you've got the two objections on the table, you go back and you address them. And you use claim proof benefit. You're going to have to do this on the fly, so you need to be good at the process. So you make a contrary claim. You first say, I understand, your brother tried that. Mine did too. A lot of people tried it, and I know it didn't work for a lot of people. But you state the unique mechanism. With our unique mechanism, it actually does work. And then you follow it up with the proof points. Proof might just be 10 other people that have tried it that first thought it wouldn't work. Because of that, they were just like you. Then they tried it and it actually did work. And you say there's no risk on your part because there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. And then you attach it to the benefit. And once you get this, you're going to XYZ benefit back to what they truly wanted. And now that you've eliminated the objection, remember I say objection's the only thing standing in the way of a sale. Once the objection's gone, you just ask the question again. Now that you understand, does it sound like you want to move forward now? And they'll usually say yes. Roger, go ahead.
John, since a claim is often phrased in a form of a benefit, what is the different distinction between a claim and a benefit?
Well, the claim is contrary to the belief. Like if they believe it didn't work for my brother, so it's not going to work for me, that's their belief. So the claim is this actually will work for you. So that's not the benefit. The claim is contrary to whatever the belief is. So you have to isolate the belief itself. Many times the belief is because of experience. And that's an experiential thing. My brother tried it, it didn't work for him. That's an experiential thing. So it's never the claim is or the belief is never about not wanting the outcome. So the belief is always about what they think is going to get in their way, and it's not going to be possible for them. And it's back to the whole confidence thing. If you give them a lead magnet and give them the confidence that they can have it, usually you annihilate 90% of the beliefs. You wipe out a lot of those nasty beliefs right up front. So that's the way to do it. And if you're doing that in person, you have a huge advantage because you're literally experiencing the process and seeing what works. And if you do this like 2 or 3 people and you come up against the same objection 2 or 3 times in a row, that's a problem. You need to address that in your presentation. Because in the presentation, you're not going to have this advantage face to face to ask them what's holding them back. They're just going to say no, and it's game over. So it's really a good thing to do this in real life a few times before you automate it. Because remember, whatever you automate, if it doesn't work, you're automating not working. You don't want to automate something that doesn't work. If you do automate it right out of the gate without testing it in real life first, you should understand if it doesn't work, you need to stop. You need to stop the machine, take a look at it, and figure out where's the point of failure so I can fix it before we start pumping traffic back into the machine. You do not want to spend money on traffic, pumping traffic into a machine that's not working right. So the benefit, the huge benefit to doing face-to-face, belly-to-belly, whatever you want to call it, type of sales, is you get the interaction with the person, and there is a big advantage to that. I know most of us are not comfortable with that. Most of us don't like sales presentations. Most of us certainly don't like giving them. But I can tell you right now, there's a huge advantage to talking to your ideal customers. Even before they're your customer, talking to them, seeing what makes them tick, seeing what gets them excited. If you talk to like, let's just say you identify 10 ideal prospects and you talk to them and you give them your presentation and you notice that every time you say this sentence, they get excited. You need to figure out how to do that more. And if you're saying this other thing and they're like going down in the doldrums, you need to get rid of that shit. Unless it's engineered and you're taking them there for a purpose. Like there is a reason to take them down in the beginning. Like when you shine a light on the big ass problem, you can feel free to take them into the dirt right then and there. Explain, how this is going to make them feel. Explain what's going to happen if they don't address it. Take them in the dirt, roll them around in it, and make them feel really shitty. That's your chance to do that. But not in the rest of the presentation. You should be taking them up the hill after what they want, and they should be feeling good every step of the way. So that's basically the process. And I'm telling you, there's no better way to do that than when you have your eyes on them and you can see their body language and you can see their reactions. And, every time you should just look at like score. Every time you say something and they get excited, you're like, yes, I got it. A jackpot. That goes into the automation. That goes into the process every time. And every time you're supposed to be taking them up and they don't look good, you go, oh, never going to say that again. That's out the window, gone. Replace it with something better. And you can't do that with automation easily. I mean, you can look like, here's how you would do it. If you don't ever want to talk to anybody and you just want to sit in a closet and make money, you just take your best shot at it. Put it out, run a bunch of people through it. You can tell how long they watch the video. If you notice they drop out at 14 minutes, look at what's in the 12 to 14 minute part of that video and get rid of it. Whatever it was, it's not working. Or you look at it and you might go back further and say, okay, what are all the things that took them to the point of failure? And if it's not right, if you see the problem, you know what you need to fix. Usually you'll see it. If you have a percentage of people dropping off on a video at a certain time range, you know, okay, I got a problem. This is a problem. It needs to be fixed. You cannot just keep sending traffic to it, expecting it to fix itself. It's not going to. It will never get any better, right? It's not going to happen. You've got to fix it. So one of the things that you can do in your presentations to not get people to fall off is to precede them with what's coming. Like in NLP, they talk about this as being open loops. In an open loop, you basically you start to talk about something that's important. You shine a light on how important it is. Like you say, hey, I'm going to show you this one thing. It's going to make the difference between make it and break it for you. But let me tell you that later. I got some other stuff to tell you first, but keep your ears open because I'm going to give you that toward the end. That's an open loop. If they leave early, they know they're not going to get that most important thing. That is a thing in the back of their head that says, keep going, don't stop, don't throw in the towel. Remember, it's the subconscious that drives the behavior. It's not the conscious. So you open loops, you're seeding the unconscious. It's the little kid that says, no, don't leave the theater. They're going to show the Muppets at the end. Don't leave. You just seeded that little kid to be a nag, and he's not going to allow the parent to exit the theater before the movie's over. That's what an open loop does for you. So you can seed them with this. If you feel like they're drifting away, and this, again, you can see this. If you're talking to somebody and they start, looking around and looking down, and they're not eye to eye with you, you can say something like, this is really important. The next thing I'm going to tell you is going to make all the difference. All of a sudden, they're going to snap to attention and they're going to be eye to eye with you. Guaranteed. You can do that in your presentation. That's something you can automate. If you feel like you're losing them at 14 minutes, you need to start throwing some open loops and things in there to keep them on. If they're dropping off before your offer, you got a problem. You've got to get them to the offer. If you get them to the offer and they don't take it, now you know there was a hidden objection. There was an objection you did not eliminate, because that's the only thing that stands in the way of you in a sale. If you've got somebody that's interested enough to sign up for your lead magnet and then attend your webinar and sit through 10, 15 minutes of it, you got the right person. They want what you're offering. They want the promise of what you got. And you're just not delivering. You're screwing the pooch. You're not doing your job effectively if they're dropping off before they get to your offer. And if they get to your offer and they don't take it, it's not because they didn't want it. They didn't all of a sudden get halfway and go, yeah, I don't really want that. They always want the promise. They always want what you're promising. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. They would not opt in. They would not sit that far through your presentation if they didn't want it. So you let them down by not eliminating all the objections before you made the offer. That's it. That's what it comes down to. This is all highly, highly predictable stuff. It's easy to engineer if you look at it in this way. And if you do face-to-face presentations, you'll learn what this stuff is long before you're automating it. So, Chris, go ahead. You're muted up. There you go.
Thanks. Speaking of an offer, I have two questions to ask you. I'm scripted for the webinar I'm going to shoot today, this afternoon, after I shave, so I look presentable. And
Awesome.
So I have a question about that. When I have the webinar, first of all, what you just said helped me a great deal. It's like they have to get to the offer.
Yes.
So I was going to do a webinar on 3 different points, and it's like, dude, they might not last to that. So I'm going to only knock it down to 2 points, shorten it up, because I want them to get to the offer, in the webinar that I'm making, for the course. So what you said helped me to realize if I'm doing a webinar and it's to introduce myself and to show my knowledge and benefit to them, I'm realizing now shorter is better so that they get to the offer. Because the longer it is, if it's an hour, they might not sit there for the offer that comes at 48 minutes into it.
Yeah. That is not true.
Okay.
That is not true. You don't want to shortcut your path.
Okay.
Like if you're talking about things that are not meaningful, by all means, cut them out and shorten it up. If
Okay.
you're taking them into the weeds, cut that stuff out, shorten it up for sure.
Okay.
But if you've engineered a presentation that's showing them exactly what they need to know to know they can get the benefit that they're promised, and you're increasing, you're either seducing the heart or convincing the head, that is useful stuff that needs to be done before the offer.
Yep. That makes sense. If it doesn't seduce the heart and convince the head.
Yeah. If it's not doing that, then it doesn't belong in your presentation.
Yeah.
It really needs to go. You need to clean the presentation up to be, you're taking them through a journey and you want them to get there with less road wear.
Yeah. And any webinar one creates, they're literally creating a movie. It's like a movie, some movies, it's like every scene is compelling and leading to the payoff. And some it's like, it just gets slow. So you're right. It has to go through a filter. Is it seducing the heart, convincing the head? So that's a good filter to go through. My specific question on that, when I put that in, is when I say, so congratulations. So by downloading this lead magnet, you get access to this free webinar, absolutely free. My question is, do you put a time limit on it? It'll be here for 5 days in order to compel them, or I just put it out there and say,
that's part of you building your offer. That is a component of an offer that's not mandatory, but the more components you use to your offer, the stronger it's going to get.
Okay. Well, this is the part where they just realize that they're getting a free webinar. They just downloaded a free lead magnet, and it's like, hey, you get it. You probably want to know what the next step is. Well, here's a webinar to give you those next steps. But I'm not at the offer yet. It's just
I would not put a time thing on that, because that's going to make it sound cheesy.
Okay. All right. And besides, if they don't, all right, so that answers my question. I won't say, hey, it'll be up for a week, so get that webinar while you can. I won't do that.
No, I wouldn't do that. I would take the tack that I always take of, you're giving them the cool thing that's very useful, and then you're stacking the cool again by offering them another webinar. But remember, it's for their benefit, not yours. You're just there to help them get what they want out of life. And you just say, I did this for you. It's there for you. If you really don't want the outcome, then hey, don't waste your time.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And besides, I can, without putting that time limit on it, I can always fall back on the email sequence.
Yes. You never want to say something that's not true. Like, don't tell them this is going to be up for a week and have them come back 2 weeks later and it's still up, because now you're a liar.
Yeah.
Don't ever put yourself in that position.
And that's bad. Here, let me write that down. Lying is bad. Oh, that makes sense. You think you taught me that in Catholic school for 12 years. All right. Thanks, John. I appreciate those tips on that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything else before we wrap up? I think this was really good. This was I didn't go through and like show and demonstrate, using ChatGPT. I wanted to do this just conversationally at first, just to see how it was going to go. And I think it went really well. I think, I think you could take exactly what I was talking about here and easily do it in ChatGPT without a demonstration. So I don't think we needed to. And that, again, is a point of, don't take people into the weeds unless they need to be weedy.
Hey, John, can I throw one thing in here kind of on the heels of that last bit of conversation that might be helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. This is Jay, everybody. He is an NLP master. So I'm just like sprinkling NLP. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but he does.
You're natural at it, so I had to study. That's the difference. But going back to like how how the mind works, one of the things that I keep revisiting, and I'm thinking now it would be really cool to feed it into ChatGPT, is step by step. We used to call belief chain, right? And the question that you ask is, what does my prospect need to believe in order to make the decision to buy from?
Oh, yeah. I've heard Ryan
What's
Dykes talk about that.
like what's the last thing? What's the last decision? It's like, I got to have this right. Well, what do they need to believe just before that? And then just before that. And so you make a series of small steps, and it's much easier for the mind to accept the small step.
Yeah.
So they may not even believe they have a problem, but that might be the next thing they need to believe is this is my problem. And if you don't get them to that belief, they're not ever going to get your message. So if in your presentation, your webinar presentation, whatever, you start with the idea of what do they need to believe to listen to the next thing I have to say.
Very cool.
It's very powerful. It works really good, and it helps you get through your own messaging. I know for me, it helps me align the message so that it makes sense to me. And if it makes sense to me, step by step by step, it's easy to talk about step by step, and then it's easy for them to accept it. And by the time you get to the end, like you say, there should really be no objections because we've covered all the points in just as much detail as it needs to have, and not more.
Perfect. Yeah. That fits perfectly in with what I talked about. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. I used Perry Belcher's example of the nail biting. And he came right out with the claim and made them understand they had a problem they didn't know just before that. He actually exposed and told them, biting your nails is a serious problem. Let me tell you why. And he created that belief of, oh shit, I got a problem.
And if you don't get there, they'll click away.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
So hope that helps.
Yeah, no, I love learning, about the NLP process. I absolutely find it fascinating, and it's right on the money every time. It's almost like the keys to the human mind. That's incredible.
Oh, almost.
I wish I knew more about it, but like you said, I think I've picked a lot of it up naturally.
Yeah. The thing is, NLP doesn't do anything that doesn't occur naturally. It's really a catalyst.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. I think with me, rather than like learning it through textbook, I've learned most of what I know through observation. And like you said, it is a natural process, and I've just been able to observe that and understand it just by observation.
It's like some people are natural, picking up a musical instrument, playing by ear. It's kind of the same thing. Sometimes, nope, got to teach them how to read music, and it's the same with NLP.
Yeah,
you have a gift of being able to observe and implement.
I can read that music.
Well, you don't need to read music. You're like one of those guys that sits in the jazz club all night, sweating and and playing amazing. That's it.
That's awesome. Today, are you still stateside, or did you go back?
Yeah, no, we're in Tennessee right now, visiting some of the kids.
Oh, cool.
It's nice to be able to actually talk to you during the daytime.
Let me know if you get out to this coast. Love to see you.
Yeah, I'd love to see you too. We had to kind of deflect and come back this way first, so but we'll chat.
Yeah, well, cool.
All right,
awesome.
Hope that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great tidbit. All right. Anything else before we wrap up for today? Well, cool. All right. Well, thank you guys all for being on here and pushing me to keep on going with this and making it better and better and easier. And hopefully this will take us another step closer to the golden goose. All right, guys, have a great week, and we will see you next week.
Have fun.